Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone.
As President Trump vows to finish the job in Iran, he's also considering withdrawal from NATO, even though he wouldn't be able to do it without two-thirds vote from the Senate. After member countries refused to join against Iran, the president said, quote, "Absolutely, without question, wouldn't you do that if you were me?" when asked if he would pull out. Let's bring in Michael Allen, former National Security Council Senior Director under President George W. Bush. So between their reaction to the Greenland, which, by the way, we're expanding bases, and between them not letting us use their bases, the Italy flat out said no, Spain says no, and they put limitations on the UK. Can you blame the president for feeling that way?
I can't blame the president for feeling that way. If simply put, it's outrageous. It's one thing for the Europeans to say, hey, listen, you didn't consult us enough before the military action, so we're not going to get involved kinetically. But it's quite another to say, listen, we're not even going to let you use our base, use your bases on our territory. I mean, that's what they're for, after all. So I think it's a huge foul by the Europeans, and I hope they step up in some way on Hormuz, or I think this will be a big issue going forward.
You got two issues. You got the uranium, and there's a mission in place the president requested for an operation. He's looking at it now. And then you have the opening up the Strait of Hormuz. Here's what he said about the strait.
The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on.
But it is a global commodity, right, Mike?
Yeah, it sure is. Somebody had a good line the other day: a restriction in supply anywhere means the price goes up everywhere. So it's something that we have to contend with and worry about. I'm glad we might be on the verge of getting the Europeans and others involved somewhat, but I thought the president appropriately left open, because he said we'd be at it another 2 to 3 weeks, us playing a role, if not a leading role, in reopening of the strait. That's the most important thing here. This has been a success by the president, but strategically, if at the end of the day the Iranians can dictate who goes through the Strait of Hormuz, that's not going to be a great outcome. So we need to make sure that we've got control, or this needs to be opened again as an international passageway.
You have to understand, too, when the president does this, he's working the refs. When he gives a speech, he's working the refs. He's trying to keep people off balance. He wants them to say this guy is unpredictable, and that's a strategy. Would be great to see it both at the same time. I mean, they're strung out. We hear massive defection. They're drafting 12-year-olds, making them serve in the military. If you have a Iranian operation and a reopening of the Strait, and you have no reproduction of any of the military equipment that's being used, I think that could be the type of thing that Iran would be unable to respond to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at a minimum, I think the regime's days are numbered. It might not be an uprising immediately at the cessation of hostilities today, but I think the regime has been materially weakened, not only because of its economic problems that resulted in these broad-based protests in January, but you know, we have seen a historic weakening of the regime as a result of epic fury. And their ability to, as everyone says, to project power around the region by proxies, ballistic missiles, and even drones mostly, has been degraded. And I think over time we'll look back at this as a pivotal moment.
And what people should understand at home is that we don't get to see Iran. They have state-run TV. For some reason, we left it up. That should be eliminated now. And that we don't see, what we see is black and white video of things being blown up. But we see a comprehensive look at Israel and the Gulf states and the president's speeches. And sadly, we're getting a lot of Iranians who are filibustering a lot of these Arab channels and a lot of U.S. outlets. I'm not saying we shouldn't hear their point of view, but we shouldn't let them dominate. So we don't see some of the damage we're doing. And a lot of people just don't want to see President Trump be successful regardless. Michael, thanks so much.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.